Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on which part of the world you're joining us from. My name is Sam Nasser, and this is the Cleveland C# User Group. A little bit about the group. We meet every month. The meetings are free of charge and open to the public, and we cover a variety of topics related to .NET. You can find meeting information posted at meetup.com at the link listed at the bottom of the slide. We always like to give a big thank you to our sponsors, PostSharp and DevExpress, for sponsoring the post-meeting prizes, which will be given using the eval forms. I would also like to thank the .NET Foundation for sponsoring the Meetup site. And last but not least, NIS Technologies for sponsoring the virtual meeting space. We'd also like to thank Manning.com for a special offer for a 35% off discount on a selection of books. And that is using the link listed at the bottom of the slide, and that link will be posted in chat in just a little bit. You would have to utilize the discount code MTPCLEC21. Some general information. Please keep in mind that participation is encouraged. And like I always say, the only stupid question is the one not being asked. So feel free to jump in at any point in time with a question or a comment. However, when not speaking, kindly ask you to mute your microphones just to avoid any background noise. And we like to keep it casual and organized, so you don't necessarily have to wait for the Q&A period, but feel free to jump in either verbally or in chat with any questions you may have. Lastly, the presentation is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube in just a couple of days. So for tonight's feature presentation, we have ChatGPT Unleashed by David Giard. David is a cloud solution architect for Microsoft. He has over 20 years of experience using Microsoft technologies, and he is a recognized author, speaker, and organizer at various conferences worldwide, as well as code camps and user groups. He's also the host and producer of great shows like Technology and Friends and Gcast. In addition, he's also the co-author of Rock's book, Real World .NET C# and Silverlight, which I hear is gaining a lot of momentum.
Silverlight? It's coming back.
Maybe not so much. You can find his blog posted at davidgiard.com. And lastly, his hobbies include video, photography, sports, and embarrassing his sons, one of which is an employee for Microsoft. Do I understand that correctly?
My son, Tim, works for Microsoft Consulting Services, and last week he was promoted.
Congratulations. Very nice.
Thank you.
With that,
I predict he will be my boss someday.
You never know. Absolutely.
I'm okay with that.
Possibility. So be nice to him. All right. So, David, glad to have you again. I've been a previous speaker, and it's always good to have you. Let me go ahead and make you presenter. And it's all yours.
Thank you, Sam. Today we're going to talk about ChatGPT. What is ChatGPT? Well, ChatGPT is a large language model developed by a company called OpenAI. It's capable of performing a wide range of natural language processing tasks, including conversational chatbots using deep learning-based unsupervised learning. And how do I know this? Well, I went to ChatGPT and I typed in, what is ChatGPT? And that's what it told me. I got this answer directly from ChatGPT. That's pretty darn meta. What can it do? Well, we talked about it understands natural language. A natural language is something like English, where I don't have to write code. I don't have to be really specific in the structure of my sentence. I just have to ask it questions in natural English language. It'll understand the context of those questions to a degree. The better you can ask the questions, the better it'll understand. It also has its own context. In the course of a conversation, it can remember things that you've asked it and things that you said before. So if it provides you a list of things, you could say, tell me more about the third item on that list, and it knows what you're talking about. It'll go back in the same session and remember things. It's smart enough to understand that it doesn't know everything, and if it provides a wrong answer, it will take feedback, and you can correct it. You can say, this is wrong, here's the correct answer to that. Because it's trained on information that's out on the internet, and the internet, as you know, is sometimes wrong. Well, I hope you know that. If not, I'm sorry to be the one to tell you that. And there's some things that it doesn't do. It won't. If you have inappropriate requests, you ask it to do something that's, say something nasty about a real person, it'll probably decline to do that. There are other limitations as well. As I said, sometimes it's wrong. It just provides the wrong answers. It's not. It has artificial intelligence, but it's not the same artificial intelligence. It's not the same intelligence that we humans have. It's based on what it's learned, and so take it with a grain of salt. In fact, Microsoft has a whole series of intelligent services that are based on this artificial intelligence, and we call them all Copilot. There's a GitHub Copilot, a security Copilot, and a Windows Copilot. And the reason we call it Copilot is because this artificial intelligence thing is not in charge. You are in charge. The Copilot is just making suggestions that might get you close to your answer, but they're not guaranteed to be 100% correct. It's up to you as a human to decide what's correct and what's not. Also, it might sometimes have some biased content or some harmful content. Again, take it with a grain of salt. It was trained on information that's out on the internet, and the internet is filled with some bad stuff. And if it's trained on bad stuff, garbage in, garbage out. Also, currently, the free version only was trained on information up to 2021. So it'll have some outdated information. If you want to know who is the current vice president of the United States, it probably wouldn't be able to tell you that because, I might be able to tell you that actually. That's a bad example. But if you want to know who is the current mayor of Chicago, we had a new mayor here in Chicago just in earlier this year, and that information would not be in here. All right, you can start up using this, and I actually just went through, right before I got on this call, I went to chat.openai.com and I signed up for it. And the reason I wanted to do that, I've signed up for it before, but I signed up with a different account. I just wanted to show you the steps right here. So I took some screenshots as I was doing that. So if you go here and you don't have an account or you've not logged in, you get this dialog here. You can either log in with your account or you can click sign up. And if you click sign up, then you can create your account, give it a valid email address, click continue. You'll have to enter a password and then verify your email. Here is a picture of the email that was sent to me. I click on that and it verifies it. It says email verified. Then I'm ready to go. It was that simple. It asked me to tell me my name, my birth date. The birth date is just to confirm that I think that you're over 21 years old. I think it's verified to that. Enter your phone number. It again it'll send some verification to your phone to make sure it's a valid phone number. And so you enter that code that it texts to you. That's it. That's the whole thing, the whole process. I just went through this. It took like 2 minutes. No big deal here. Let's see. Let's go back to this. So rather than show that to you, then I can log in and it'll take me to, let's see, click on this. You need to click it really hard. Here we go. So here, I'm already logged in, but if not, I can just click on log in and log myself in. And you notice that there's two versions of it. There's ChatGPT 3.5. This is 100% free. And there's ChatGPT 4. ChatGPT 4 is built on a much larger language model. It's more information. It's more up to date, but it costs money. It costs $20 a month. Everything I'm going to show you now is the free version, ChatGPT 3.5. And what I want to show you is, I know this is a software development group, but I'm not going to get really technical on this. I just want to show you some useful things you can do with ChatGPT and some fun things that you can do with ChatGPT. And in fact, let me go back to my slides here. As I go through these here, here's just some broad categories of things you do. Like for the useful stuff, this is a C# VB development group. Here's some things you can use that'll help you with your day job. You've inherited some code, you want to explain that code. ChatGPT is pretty good at that. It can look at somebody else's code and tell you in summary, in English, what does it do. It can also, if you type in some prompts to say, write code that does this, it can actually write code for you. It might not be perfect, but it's a good starting point. Or if you've got code you want to add automated tests to it, it can do that as well. Really nice things that can make life easier for you as a software developer. Some other things that are work-related but aren't necessarily tech-related. If you wanted to write articles or help with writing emails, it could do that. Say you want to hire somebody, then it can write a job description a nice professional sounding job description, or let's say you're looking for a job, you want to add a professional bio to LinkedIn or to your resume, it can write that for you. Give it the information, it'll wordsmith it for you and come up with something. It may or may not be better than what you came up with, but it'll almost certainly be faster than what you can come up with. And therefore, it'll save you a lot of time. If you want to learn topics, you could take articles, you could point it to articles or books or emails and say, summarize this, tell me the key points to that, something to save time. If you want to learn something, just tell it to explain some complex topic in simple terms, it can do that as well. So it's really nice for just educating yourself. And then fun stuff, and that's what I want to spend a lot of time today doing, is just what are the fun things. It's a chat-based feature, so you can just engage in a casual English language conversation. You can play games with it. It can create games for you. You can tell it to tell you jokes. And there's all sorts of things. I got a few things there. And then there are output options. Generally speaking, you're just going to output text. If you don't tell it how to output, you'll just get some text back. You can say, I want to format that text as a table. If you want to format it as ASCII art, it actually is smart enough to do that. I just recently learned that. And then I think this might be my final slide, or it's one of my final slides. I don't have a lot of slides here. These are just some tips for making that your experience with ChatGPT more rewarding. The number one thing is the more specific you are with your questions, the more specific it'll be with its answers, the more it understands what you're asking. So providing some kind of context for what you're looking for, giving it some background information, that really helps a lot. You can do things like tell it who the audience is. I want to explain this like I am a high school sophomore or a 6-year-old child or a technical audience. Maybe define the speaker. That'll change the tone of how it's doing and saying, you are an expert in microbiology. Please describe this. You could do, it's probably, once you get started using it, it's a good idea just to kind of experiment with how you're actually communicating with ChatGPT and trying different ways of doing that. Asking open-ended questions is a good way to get started, but after a while you want to drill down and just let your mind flow. Be free with this. What else are we going to do? Experiment with different types of games you can do. It'll create games for you, and when you find something that's wrong, go ahead and correct it. And then also there are some ethical issues. These are all questions, really. I have my own opinions about them. Probably not a good idea to let ChatGPT do your homework for you. It's anti-learning if you're only using it for that. And also, as I said, it's sometimes wrong. Nothing more embarrassing than turning in wrong answers that somebody else did. You'd want to. It's good. It's a good accelerator for learning, but it's not the end all of learning. And there's some issues about, if somebody creates something creative and ChatGPT is trained on that data and it reiterates some creative content that somebody else really is responsible for, is it right for me to take credit for that? If I ask it to write a poem and it uses parts of a poem that someone else wrote, you want to be really careful about that. Some of the things, I think it's okay to use verbatim. If I use it to write an email, for example, and just take it verbatim, I don't think I'm sending a private email. I'm not really making any money off of that. I'm not really claiming that as an original creative piece of art. If I ask it to write an outline for a presentation or for a story as a starting point, and I build upon that, I think those are okay. My personal opinion is it's okay to use this as a starting point for something creative I want to do. But it's probably not okay to take things verbatim and publish them. I could, for example, say, write me a blog post about how to do Azure monitoring. And it will do it, but if I copy and paste that blog post and put it on my blog and tell the world that it's mine, that feels wrong to me. However, if I say, write me an outline of a blog post, and I want to cover this aspect of Azure monitoring, and then I take that outline and then I build on it, that feels okay to me. You make your own decisions, but these are some ethical questions. And then, of course, I've told this many times. Do I trust ChatGPT? The answer is don't trust it. Always want to double check, read through it, verify from other sources. It's a good starting point. It is a co-pilot. It is not a pilot. All right, here's a couple things that I used it for. I asked it this question here. I have a presentation. I'm doing a presentation in Cleveland, and I want to talk about ChatGPT and show examples of fun things to do. And this is what it came back with. And I copied and pasted this. So I just did what I told you not to do. I copied and pasted. This is the description that's in Meetup right now, word for word. I just use it as an example of how ChatGPT can do something. And then I said, well, give me a title for that presentation, because remember, it knows context. And this is the title that I gave up to me. Actually, the first title, it's just I said no, and there's a button that says, do I want to regenerate it? This was the second or third title it came up with. So that part I actually totally stole. And I'm going to show you a whole bunch of demos. I think I'm done with the slides now. And these demos that I'm using, well, this picture, first of all, I got from a similar tool, also from OpenAI, called DALL-E, which is used for generating images. I just told it, just give me a picture of a burglar stealing from ChatGPT, and it gave me this picture right here. And the reason is because all these demos, they're mostly harmless demos, and a lot of them I just been collecting them from the internet. So I don't take credit for any of these demos. I see something interesting. I have a file that I just hang on to, a Word document, and I've been saving it in there. So the whole purpose of this is, let's just have some fun and do something, learn some stuff that other people have done with ChatGPT. How can you find it useful? And if we have at the end of this, I was asking Sam about how much time to spend on this, because this is the first time I've given this presentation. This is actually the world premiere of this presentation. I don't know how much time it'll take to go through all these demos, but when we're done, maybe we'll take some suggestions for the audience. Maybe you've got some ideas. And if you do share your ideas with me, there's a pretty good chance that I'm totally going to steal them and put them into this presentation the next time I deliver it at some other user group. All right, so I'm going to stop that right now. I'm going to go into ChatGPT, and I'm going to start with some, as I said, this isn't going to be a super technical presentation, but I will start with some coding things, some things that you can do as a software developer. So here we go. How about this? This is something that I had to do recently. I was working on a project in PHP connecting to MongoDB. These are two technologies I really don't know that much about, and I had to delete a row. So just ask, how do I delete a row in MongoDB using PHP? Really simple question. And it goes all the way even to just installing the driver here. So it provided connecting to a database right here with some information about why you'd want to connect to the database, and the code to actually delete this database. In this case, connect to it. The result is this delete one based on the filter. And this, we assume we've got a document ID right here, and just verify that it in fact was deleted. If delete count is 1, then echo out deleted successfully, else not found deleted. So this might not be 100% what I wanted, but this would save me a lot of things, particularly if someone like me who's a total noob at both Mongo and PHP. So a pretty nice thing right here. Here's another one. A lot of times I'm working on a project and I want to do some testing, and I need some sample data to test. How about this one here? Generate sample data baseball statistics as a CSV file, output 20 records. And if I didn't put that last part in, who knows how many rows it would do this. What it'll do here is it'll write some code, and looks like, let me go back to the top here. It assumes I'm still in PHP. So it does it in PHP right here. And if I don't like that, by the way, this is regenerate, and it can do the same thing again with a slightly different spin on it. But if I do this right here, I could paste it in again, or you know what I can do is go up to the top and edit also. Let me just click on here. Oh, maybe I can't edit it, but I'll paste it in again, and I'll say write code in C#, and it'll give me a variation on that. So the more specific I am, the more it knows exactly what I'm looking for. And in fact, I'm going to click stop. Well, it's already done here. How about this? find a public data set with baseball statistics. This is probably what I would be more likely to do. And right here, you can see that there are some links to some places where you can just download some baseball statistics, either free or for a cost. And once I have that, maybe I want to use it. How about this? Write Python code to import this data set. Pretty common thing to do in Python is to bring some data in and start playing with it. Let's do some analysis on it here. Do EDA. The above data set, that's the exploratory data analysis. And again, it's writing some nice Python code that'll do some analysis on this data set. All right, well, another one here. This is pretty similar. I'm working in Go. I've never written a line of Go code in my entire life, but somebody came to me and said, hey, we got this Go module. It needs to calculate interest rates. Write some code to do that. I'll say, sure, boss. That'll take me 3 days. And then I do this in 15 seconds, copy and paste it. Verify that it works, of course, and then go take a couple days off. Here's a really good one here. How about this? I've got the code. Let's generate some unit tests for this code. Now it knows that I'm talking about the code that was just written, the interest rates. It knows that I'm working with Go. And so it generated a whole bunch of unit tests for this. I think this is just fantastic. Really good use of this tool. Let's do some other ones here. Here's one. I actually had to do this recently. This one I stole from myself. I said, I've got a .NET MVC application that uses iLogger. If you just say file new .NET MVC, it'll automatically put an iLogger. And it'll add code like this. That'll say, in the constructor of a controller, it'll inject a logger. But I want to log, I don't want to, by default, it'll log to the console. I want to log to Azure Application Insights. How do I do that? Now I could go Bing or Google it and find how to do that, or I could ask this to actually write the code for me. And that's kind of nice. There's a key inside of Application Insights you can do. There's a NuGet package that you can use for this. And then you can add some configuration information. I think right here is probably, here we go. There's the key that you can copy from from Azure's Application Insights, and all this code is right here. It's a nice startup nice accelerator for that. Here's another one that I had to do. Let's see. As I'm updating my blog, a lot of times I want to I'll have a bunch of images in a folder. So here, right here, can I make this bigger? I guess I cannot. I've got a bunch of images in a folder. I can just do a directory command, output these images. I say for each line below, remove all the characters up to and including the dash, and remove the PNG extension at the end. And the remaining text uses camel case or proper case. Split the remaining text into individual words with a space in between each word. So what I'm trying to do, I've got a naming convention for all of my images. It starts with this prefix right here. And then there's a description using camel case, but no spaces, and then it ends in .png. I want to get rid of the PNG. I want to get rid of this stuff here. And then I want to put a space in between each word, which it knows by this right here. So you can write a lot of code to do that, or I could just tell ChatGPT to do it. And there it is. And I can use this as the title for image tags. I can copy and paste that, or I can take that and say, something like Create an HTML image tag for each line. The original word is source attribute. The modified word is the alt and the title tag. So right here, the source is that image. The alt is I've stripped off the ping and the prefix and put spaces in. And so is the title. The alt and the title, I usually keep those the same. And it'll generate all of these image tags for me. So just using English language, natural language, and I can do that. Maybe I want to modify these things further and say, add the following attributes to every single one of them: display inline, background image, none. In the past, what I did is actually have a spreadsheet with really complicated formulas that does a lot of this stuff for me. But I can just let ChatGPT do this. Maybe I've got a specific folder. These image tags are not in the same folder as the HTML file. Maybe they're in this folder right here. And now I've done is just change the folder of the source right here. And then finally, I probably want to add a BR tag. So every one of these, there's no carriage return line feed or paragraph or anything like that. I can just tell it, follow each image tag with a BR tag. That's the same code as above, except that, scroll way to the right, I should see there's a line break at the end of each one. I can copy and paste this into my HTML and use it. And I've got a list of all the images within a given directory. A nice shortcut. Here's another thing that I find really useful. Sometimes I inherit somebody else's code, and sometimes it's in a language that I'm not familiar with and I want to convert it. This is when I was a consultant, this was a common thing. We've got this code, it's written in COBOL, and I've got to convert it to a modern language. So this is a C# group. So I'll say C#. Actually, no, I'll say Visual Basic. As in the C# VB group, Visual Basic. Right there. So even if you don't know COBOL, you can take this thing and it'll give you a nice starter functionality to convert this. And it tends to convert it line by line. C# and VB, they're object-oriented languages. COBOL is not. So you may want to refactor it to take that into account. In this case, it's probably not a big deal, but other things to take into account. All right, those are my coding examples I want to have. Let me move on to some things that you can do in business that are not necessarily technology related. How about this one here? I have a sick child. I cannot make the meeting. Write a professional email saying I cannot make it. Keep it to 4 sentences or less. Things like this, I often spend way too much time composing these emails. In a fraction of a second, ChatGPT gave me something that sounds very professional. I'd probably take more time just reading it, maybe tweaking it slightly than I did to generate it, but a way less time than if I had composed the whole thing on my own. So things like that it's really good for. How about this? Imagine I'm looking for a job. I want to post something on LinkedIn, write a professional bio for David Giard. So now it's going to go, I'm out on the internet. It'll figure things out about me. I didn't tell them anything about me. And let me go here. Let's see, read how accurate this is. It doesn't say with over X years of experience, so it's leaving some things blank. It doesn't know that. A sought after speaker, complex topic, that's nice. Commitment to continuous learners, everything conference, publications, blogs, that's good too. Drive for innovation, technology, compute, fuse. So interesting. It doesn't tell where I worked. It doesn't tell like my education and things like that. And one time, a few months ago, I tried this and it put down that I had a degree, but it mentioned the wrong school, which it actually mentioned a rival school than the one that I attended. So I did, and I corrected it, and apparently it's just taken that, not even tried to do that anymore. So let's see, set a professional bio, and you could do that. But you know what? I don't want just a professional. This is kind of boring. I'm going to create a professional bio as a haiku. Text sage, words take flight, sharing insight, minds ignite, David's wisdom bright. Perfect. I'm going to put that on LinkedIn tomorrow. Look for that. What else do we have? Oh, you know what? Haiku doesn't sound professional enough. I want to do a professional bio in the voice of Foghorn Leghorn. Yeah, that's better. LinkedIn, you will not know what hit you. All right, here's a really good one here. This, I think a lot of you will find this useful. If you go to a job interview, you want to appear like you're knowledgeable about the job. You want to ask questions. Always a good idea in an interview to have at least one question at the end to show that you've thought about it. Well, tell it what the job is and ask what are some questions I should ask the interviewer. And maybe if it doesn't know if it's an obscure job that it doesn't understand, you could add a job description in there. Maybe copy and paste it from the advertisement that you're responding to. But here's some really good questions here that'll, 15 is a lot to ask, but what are the metrics on which I'm going to be judged? How do you evaluate new technologies? These are all really good questions. What's the onboarding process for new hires? Take a look at these and grab a few of them and bring them with you. Here's something maybe you care about, maybe you don't. How do I increase my Twitter followers? If you want to be an influencer, like Sam Nazar, for example. I think he's got a gajillion. It's 1.2 gajillion Twitter followers right now.
Multiply that by 2, and you're almost there.
Yeah, 0.6 gajillion, which is I think 600 Brazilian, if my math is correct.
Very well said.
All right. And there's just some ideas. Maybe increasing my influence is important to me. Here's some ideas of how I can do that. Promoting my Twitter, tweet at optimal times. Make yourself more interesting to people. The secret of my Twitter success is be on it for 15 years, which is not really a great strategy, but. All right, here we go. Produce 10 hashtags about cloud computing. So again, sticking with social media. If I'm writing a lot about tweeting or putting things on LinkedIn or Instagram about cloud computing, maybe I want to put some hashtags. What are some good hashtags to do? Here's cloud computing, cloud tech, cloud infrastructure, things like that. I don't have to think about that. It's kind of nice that it'll suggest things. I don't have to think about it in terms of vetting that. Yeah, but increasing your social media presence is just a means to an end. Really, if I have an IT consulting business and I want to promote that, what are some ways to do that? And this will give you some ideas on this. Networking, word of mouth, emails, blogging, guest speaking. So I don't have a consulting business, but if I did, then I would have a slide on there saying, hey, if I sound like a smart guy, I've got lots of smart people working for me. Come hire me. Let's say maybe it's not a consulting business. Maybe I have something like a Native American jewelry collection that I'm selling, and I want to put it on eBay. I really want to spend a lot of time writing this thing. Maybe I want to let ChatGPT write it for me. Let's see. How about this one here? I have an event coming up to teach C# developers how to use Azure OpenAI. It will be held on January 1st at this place. Register here. Write me a 5-part email sequence to promote the event to my list. This looks like a great use of ChatGPT. If you've got to do something like this manually, it is a lot of manual effort to do this. Let's start with this. It even tells you when to send them out 1 day before the event, 3 days before the event, things like that. You could queue these up and send them out and save you enormous amounts of time. Or you could do something like this. Let's see. Write me a welcome email for those that sign up. So this is this is kind of a blast to everybody. Once you sign up, send them an email saying welcome, and then maybe 3 more emails just to let them know a week ahead of time, 2 days ahead of time, the day before, etc. I like this one. These are just difficult messages to deliver. How can I say we're going to be late because the designers delivered the designs late and because the testers are taking too long because no one bothered to write the documentation in a better way with less emotion? This is, I've worked with a lot of companies that where things are going bad because other people in the company made a mistake. I don't want to point fingers. I don't want to blame people, but I do want to communicate that there are issues. That's a hard thing to do. And so here's a kind of a softer way of delivering that message. And maybe you don't like it. You can always click regenerate and have something here. And it even has some feedback on it. The second one, better or worse, the same than that one. ChatGPT will use that as it generates that if it answers a similar question in the future. Here with this see. How about this? Oh, here we go. Career development plan. Those of you that have some years left in your career, you probably want to have a career development plan. Pretty much everyone can benefit from a career development plan. And this is a good way. Think about what your goals are. What are your skills? Research goals. Set some goals. This is actually fairly involved right here. But if you wanted more details, see it's done right here. Step 1 is self-assessment. Identify goals, assess your skills, define your values. How about walk through step 1? Give me a few more details on the self-assessment step. Scroll down to the bottom here. Here we go. It's actually building it, and it expands on that. Give me more details on this. All kinds of information. You can take it or leave it, but this is pretty good information. And again, you can read a book on this, read a whole bunch of blog posts. ChatGPT has done that for you. All right, let's see. All right. All right. So I have some future roles that I would like to move towards. My current role is cloud solution architect. My top options for future role are maybe I want to become a developer advocate or a product manager in the future. Let's do this. I'll add to this. Given that, give me a list of important skills for each of the roles I'm considering. Here are my current skills. Give me a learning path for each of the roles I'm considering to address my gaps. So there, I've given a lot of information here. Here's the plan it came up with. Here's my goals, roles that I'm considering about. These are my skills. Probably public speaking would work for developer advocate, but maybe not for product manager. So here it's going to analyze that, look at some of those skills that I'm missing, come up with a learning plan for how to address these gaps of skills that I need to have if I want to become, say, a product manager in the next couple of years. And here we go. Let's continue this. I'll say, My name is David. Compile a report summarizing my current role and strengths based on my skills. Summarize the skills, and then for each role I'm considering, list my relevant strengths, gaps, learning plan, and finally recommended courses. So now I'm getting really specific about what are the action items that I should be taking. And this is something that you could probably use as a starting point if you have an annual review process. Talk to your manager, tell them what your goals are and what are your plans to meet those goals. So it helps you to prepare, and it helps your manager to help you. So if you're at a good company, you have a good manager, your manager will know what your goals are and give you things that will, training and assignments that'll help you to move towards those goals. And this is pretty good, but it lacks a closing statement. So I'm going to say, give me a closing statement for my report. I want something formal. I want to have an in conclusion right here. All right, so this is all some work stuff, not technical stuff, but good. I'm going to go into some writing options that you can use ChatGPT for, because I do a lot of writing. I have an active blog, and then I've co-authored some books. I do some creative writing on my own. Here we go. What is a good metaphor for a movie that starts poorly and has a good ending? So one of the things I do is like to review books and movies and show concerts and things like that. So maybe I want to say, hey, this story started really poorly, but I stuck with it and it rewarded me at the end. And here we go. Diamond in the rough is a good metaphor for that. Maybe I don't like that one. I'll use a different one. What is this? Oh, here we go. This is like a rough diamond that with the right polishing and care transfers to a sparkling gem. So this is something that I could probably incorporate, paraphrase into my writing. I don't think I'd want to copy it verbatim into a review that I wrote. That just feels wrong. But I could paraphrase that. I could certainly steal, a diamond in the rough is a cliche. It's been used many times. How about this one here? You can actually have it write a story for you. Again, there's ethical issues of publishing a story like this. Once upon a time, enterprise architects were asked to write code that would solve the problem of world hunger. And didn't give me that much. Last time I ran this, it actually did an entire short story on this. Let me see if it gives more than this. It only just gave an introductory sentence. Okay. How about this one? Let's see. If I tell it to, maybe I need to tell it to write an entire story. This one, it was sort of implied that was the opening line. But if I do is write a story about a politician who learned a lesson about insulting everyone who disagrees with him. Here, let's try this one. Here, I've actually told it to write a story. I could probably give it more information saying the story should be so many words long or so many paragraphs long. And it actually created an entire story. A charismatic politician named Thomas Strickland. In the very end, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he learned his lesson. His journey from arrogance to humility served as a valuable lesson to all. He proved that insults may win battle, but his understanding and cooperation ultimately wins the war for a better future. All right. How about this? Grade the story above for a 12th grade writing class. I've given it some context. Is this good enough to get an A in a 12th grade writing class? And it gives some idea. 90% content, 80% on structure, career development, message and theme. It overall looks like it's a B+. Let's see. Here's a silly one. Write a poem about HTTP. Ooh, that's quite a poem. In the realm of digital flow, where data dances to and fro, a protocol emerged, you see, called HTTP, the web's decree. That is sweet. Here we go. Let's see. This one is a book review that I wrote. Let's see. Analyze the following article, improve the tone to make it sound more professional. Probably helps if I show you the article that I've linked to. It's a review of Native Son by Richard Wright. Classic story about youth violence in inner city America, racism. Very good book. So I wrote a review of it. I don't know if it's any good or not. I'm going to ask ChatGPT, what do you think? Oh, it doesn't like this. Oh, that's new. Interesting. So this used to work. Let me go back to here. So it can no longer do that. But I can do this. If I come here and click on edit, and I'll replace that link with the actual text right there. And now it's rewritten this article, presumably keeping the same content, changing the tone so that it sounds more professional. And I subscribe to a service called Grammarly, and Grammarly does something similar to that. I tell it what the tone is, and it'll correct not only my spelling and my grammar, but it'll also correct the style. If I tell it that I want something very professional or I want something very creative, it'll look at what I've written and offer suggestions. The advantage Grammarly has that it actually highlights the suggestions. Here I'd have to go and look through and see what are the changes in here. All right, let's see. Oh, here. So this is maybe I've read a book. There's a book called Radical Candor. I read it about a year ago, and maybe I read it and I want a synopsis, or maybe I haven't read it. I just want to know what it's about. These are the key points that come out of Radical Candor, the book. It's fairly detailed, but if you just want a quick summary, it'll take a lot less time to read this than to read an entire book. Here's an interesting one that I imagine you want. Maybe you want to start a debate, or maybe you just want to think about a debate here. So one big issue these days is, should marijuana be legal everywhere? Just in the last couple of years, marijuana became legal in the state of Illinois. It didn't used to be. And I have strong feelings that I actually think marijuana should be legal. It's absurd that this is a big one. It's less harmful than alcohol, and alcohol is legal. It's not addictive. So these are my arguments for making marijuana legal, but I'd like to articulate them a little bit more detail, and maybe find out, are there flaws in my argument? And so here's a bit more context on this, and then it's possible there's some arguments against it. Oh, here's a however. So I said it's less harmful than alcohol. However, it's crucial to recognize that marijuana can still have adverse effects. Yeah, it's less harmful than alcohol, but it still messes up your lungs, things like that. And anyway, that's if you don't have another human to bounce ideas off of, sometimes it's nice to bounce ideas off of ChatGPT. Let's see, here we go. This would be a good thing for customers considering Kubernetes. Provide an outline with 10 bullet points for an article on getting started with Kubernetes. So I would never tell it to write an article about Kubernetes, or if I did, I certainly wouldn't copy it verbatim, but I think creating an outline like this is really useful. I do this sometimes in my blog. I want to make sure that I'm hitting the high points, and sometimes it'll suggest something in the outline that I hadn't thought of already. So this would be a good starting point for writing an article or a blog post right here. In fact, I might even split this up into multiple articles because there's quite a bit of information there. Here we go. How about, are you creating newsletter content? You've got writer's block. I'm a software engineer who teaches DevOps. Give me 10 content or newsletter ideas, please. There you go. No excuse for writer's block. It's giving you ideas right here, things that you could write. All right, those are some good things that are all about creative writing. And I actually use a lot of these things myself. I use ChatGPT as a starting point, creating outlines, creating ideas. I use Grammarly for grammar and style, but I could easily use ChatGPT for that as well and save the whatever it is, $10 a month that I spend on Grammarly. I'm going to show a few things. Let's get into some more fun things here. Recommendations. I've got a few examples of this. I watched a Tim Burton movie recently called Big Fish. I love the movie. Tell me some other ones. If I like Big Fish, what else would I like? And it'll give me some recommendations. Princess Bride, good one. There's another Tim Burton one in there. Pan's Labyrinth. Pretty good stuff. This one, I didn't do this. I bought an espresso machine just a few months ago, and I didn't do this. But tell me a good espresso machine in the $500 to $1,000 price range. I actually did the old-fashioned way and went online and read reviews. It's too late for me. I've already bought the machine, and I'm using it so much they had to close 3 Starbucks in my neighborhood. All right, what else do we have here? Oh, here's a good one. Let's see. My 15-year-old son loves basketball. His birthday's next week. What should I get him? Basketball gear, basketball hoop, training equipment, tickets to a game. Really good ideas. Probably wouldn't need it so much for my son. I know my son. He's not 15. He's much older than that. But maybe my nephew or somebody that I don't see every day. I could just tell me a few things about him. What does he enjoy? Here's another good one. If you ever open up your refrigerator and you realize I got to use all this stuff. I've got some chicken and some parmesans and capers. What should I make for dinner? I ask myself this question frequently. I got to use up this stuff, and it'll suggest a recipe. Chicken piccata sounds pretty good. It actually gives a full recipe. If you don't like chicken piccata, click regenerate. It'll suggest something different. Just different chicken piccata recipe. Okay, not very different. All right, let's see. Let's do some life hacks using ChatGPT for this. I have a document here that I'll share with you at the end of that with all these things and even some more that I'm skipping over. What's some good conversation starters on a first date? None of us was born knowing how to talk to the opposite sex. It's a muscle that you can build up, and maybe just having an idea of what you want to talk about. What are their interests? Talk about where do they like to travel? What do they like to eat? What movies and TV shows? All good stuff right there. What else do we have? Here's one similar to the business one. I want a casual message in French from us. I told it what tone I want it to be. I want it to be in French. Maybe I don't speak French. Send it to my Airbnb host saying I'm going to be a little late to check in and that I will arrive by 4 p.m. And here we go. Remember, it's natural language and not necessarily English. ChatGPT is smart enough to understand us, a variety of languages. How about this? I've got a chance. I'm actually on vacation right now, but it's a staycation. I'm not going anywhere, but give me an itinerary. I'm going to go to Portugal, to Lisbon, Portugal. I've never been there. I'm going to be there for 7 days. What should I do? I actually went to Lisbon last year, and my friend and I, we spent a lot of time coming up with itineraries, things to do. We bought guidebooks. She did mostly, but it was a lot of effort. We could have saved some of that effort just by doing this. A lot of these things we actually did. We did go to Centra. We did go to Cascades, and we did go to Bellum. I don't know Discoveries. I don't think we did that. Here we go. I live in Chicago. I'm not native to Chicago. I moved here about 10 years ago. And here's a tough thing for people to do. Best ways to make new friends when moving to Chicago. You could just say best way to make friends when moving anywhere, but I want to be specific to Chicago. Maybe there is something in here. It looks like this is more generic. It would have been nice if it said, oh, networking events, and then maybe I could actually add that, say, can you suggest some Chicago networking events? Let's see if that helps. And there we are. So things like Chicago women developers, Chicago professionals, and as a catch-all, go look at Eventbrite and find some things. Let's see. How about this one? What's the quickest way to get across New York City during rush hour? I've done this before. I know it's really a challenge. And you notice it's saying most of these don't involve cars, don't involve driving. Walking and biking and taking the subway. If they do ride, they're like ride sharing or let somebody else drive you. How about I've got my Saturday free. What's the best place to watch the Michigan State University basketball game in Chicago this Saturday? Actually, basketball season hasn't started yet, but here's a few places. And it's suggesting it. Looks like there's a lot of sports bars in here. And I happen to know that the Scout Waterhouse is closed. So as I said, this is older data, and there's been a pandemic, so a lot of things got closed during the pandemic. All right, so there's some life hacks. Let's do some fun stuff. This is cool. How about here we go. Be a game master. Teach me to program C# in a wacky, hilarious adventure text game. Let's go back up to the top. And on a science vessel in the year 2078, where you will narrate the story and give me choices about what I can do. And here it is. There's a whole game here about what you do, what you can do, and it builds on itself. It's kind of a role-playing game. It's done the ship's corridor, so welcome is a welcome message. And eventually, after step 3, it asks you grab your trusty computer and start writing C# code. Giggles provides you with a code snippet to get you started. Now you must complete the replicate food method to fix the replicator. There's a bit here where you can do it. And here's another section where it's asking you to, it's actually giving the answer right here. So how about this one here? I haven't done this in a while. Let's play a trivia game. Of course. All right. Category choice. What do you think? Let's try movies. This is why your code is compiling. This question. In the movie Shawshank Redemption, what was the profession of the main character, Andy Dufresne, before he was imprisoned? Does anybody know? I remember, I think, wasn't he a lawyer? I think he was a lawyer. Correct, yes. Which actor portrayed the iconic character Jack Dawson in the film Titanic? That was Leo. That was too easy. In the classic film Wizard of Oz, what color? Oh, come on. It's yellow brick road. Frank Baum was from Chicago. Or I don't know if he's from there. He lived in Chicago when he wrote The Wizard of Oz. Who directed the film Blade Runner? That was Ridley Scott. Oh, these are a little too easy. I wonder if I can do. Oh wow! Mentioning Michael Gambon, he just died today. Wow. Anyway, Richard Harris is the author. Let me see. How do I stop this? Do I say stop? Of course. How about, can you make these questions harder? How about that? A little too easy, this last ones. Please, okay, here we go. Please select a category or type. I'll just say random. All right. In Greek mythology, who was the Titan who held up the heavens on his shoulders? That wasn't harder. Which scientist formulated the laws of motion and universal gravitation? And these are not harder. All right. Okay, let's find another one. Stop. How about this? Tell me a joke about artificial intelligence. Why did the computer keep freezing? Because it left its windows open. Best joke ever. How about this one? What do you get when you cross a snowman and a vampire? You get frostbite. I'll be here all week. Try the veal. Let's try this one here. I asked this once before. It gave me a wrong answer. That was a long time ago. If a software developer takes 365 days to write a piece of software, how many developers will it take to write that piece of software in one day? Let's find out. Oh no! Okay. Limit of messages. I don't know what the limit is. I didn't realize I was going to hit that. Let me go over to. I just signed up for another account here.
Quick question, David, while you're doing
Absolutely.
that. I actually had a suggestion. What I usually used ChatGPT for
Yeah.
was like interview questions. I'm still using them, and that's been really useful for me. So
great choice. Are you the interviewer or the interviewee?
Interviewee, just training to get a job kind of deal. So
I want to understand what questions they're asking.
Yeah. So that was just like a suggestion that I was thinking while you.
I appreciate that.
While you asked them to ask you interview questions, that was a question that I was thinking of asking it to give you interview questions and then trying to answer it kind of deal.
So let's try that. I am applying for a job as a senior software engineer at a manufacturing company. How about this? What interview questions might I experience?
I feel like that's usually the hard part, trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember when I first started interviewing for jobs, the first time I would get, the first few interviews were really hard. I had to think about every question. But by the time I was I'd done like a half a dozen interviews, I realized I'm getting a lot of the same questions.
Mm-hmm.
What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And it's good to have the challenge after a while was trying to sound spontaneous because I had heard those questions so many times before.
Yeah.
But here, this is great. So, technical questions: explain these principles of object-oriented programming, solve a problem with the data structures. Here's some more non-technical. How do you handle disagreements or conflicts within a team during a project? Great call. If I were you, I would keep a Word document with these questions and your answers.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you go years without an interview.
Oh
You get the
no,
job, and then 3 years later, 5 years later, you start interviewing again. It's really nice to have an answer to something like
yeah.
uh, something like
I'll
that
keep
if you
that in
care
mind.
about it.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's see what we're going to do here. Oh, actually, I had an answer to this one here. So I like this answer here. This is, I remember a few months ago I typed this in and it gave me a wrong answer. Now it's not as simple as that, and it tells about adding more developers really isn't going to make this thing proportion in less than 365 days. The silly answer is, 365 days to write software, then 365 developers should do it in one day. It's like, okay, 9 women can have a baby in 1 month. No, it doesn't work that way. All right. This is one I totally stole from the internet. It's a Star Wars one. Write the first 10 minutes of the dialogue from A New Hope in heroic couplet, which is a Shakespearean thing. In Tatooine's desert, a droid named R2-D2 carried plans crucial, seeking one he knew. Why not have a little bit of fun with this stuff here? Here's one I just read the other day. What's the best prank to play on a friend? And well, it's interesting. I haven't seen this before. It's providing 2 responses simultaneously. Wow. And says, which one do you prefer? And replace some of the photos in their frames with funny or silly pictures. That's pretty good. Most of these are harmless. They're mostly harmless. Here's another one I just read recently and totally stole. What would happen if the moon were made of cheese? That's serious answers. There's the gravitational implications of this. And cultural and social implications. It might incentivize space agents to study the moon more closely to understand its cheese composition. It's a bit of a silly question, but ChatGPT took it seriously. I like this one. Draw an ASCII dinosaur. There it is. I click regenerate. Let's see if it draws a different dinosaur. It did. I think I like the first one better. That one's worse. Get a little feedback. One more. All right. I'll go through. I've got a few more categories here, but I don't think I'll drain them all. I've been talking for over an hour. Let's do this one. I want to learn to play piano. I'm a complete beginner. Create a 30-day learning plan that will help me learn and improve. So you can use a lot of this stuff for creating learning plans. Just tell it what you want to do, what your goals are. Maybe you could give it some information about where you stand. Are you a beginner or an intermediate? You can also, maybe there's a topic you want to study and you want to get a kickstart on this. I want to learn about quantum computing, identify and share the most important 20% of learnings from this topic that will help me understand 80% of it. Talk about a complex topic. There you go. All that time you wasted getting a PhD in quantum computing. You could have just read this right here. Oh, yeah, here, let's see. Here we go. Let's see. This is a relevant one. I am currently learning about ChatGPT. Convert the key lessons of this topic into engaging stories and metaphors to aid memorization. This might be a good one to incorporate into a presentation. What else do I have here? Let's see. Oh, okay, here, I like this one here. I'm learning about Docker. Ask me a series of questions to test my knowledge and identify gaps in my answers and give me better answers to fill those gaps. And here it'll have a series of questions. And if you don't know, actually give you the answer, but it doesn't give the answer. It's just a spot for it. But if you don't know the answer, then yeah, actually it does. Here's the improved answer right here. Let me see. Here's one where I've given it, act as a tutor. I need to help understand how the quadratic formula works. Please describe it in easy to understand terms. This might be a different answer if I were a mathematician versus if the way that I've described it is I want something that's easy to understand. So it gave a little bit more text to show some detail and how the formula works. Here's a practical thing. I struggle with this. Can you devise practical ways to stay focused during long study sessions? People write entire books on this topic. All right, I just got a little miscellaneous section down here. Let me grab this. This is one of my favorite ones. Summarize the winners and losers of the NCAA Division I men's basketball Final Four from 2000-2010 into tabular form with the titles champion, runner-up, final score, other teams, location, and MVP. So I told it not only what data to provide, but also how to present that data. That is really cool. I love that one. Here's one also. There's something called Mermaid Markdown. And I should have a link to that. Let me see. Draw me a top-down diagram using a mermaid markdown of the biblical lineage from Abraham to Jacob. So memorial or mermaid markdown provides hierarchical data. And let me see if it comes up with this here. I'm gonna have to. I forgot to put the link down, but there's a page which will render that. Hold on. So here's the stuff here. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. Oh, it's interesting. It's only showing one of Isaac's sons. But let me try this. Mermaid Markdown is, I think it's this right here, where I can paste that, get started. Oh shoot, I had a page. GitHub Mermaid. Maybe it's this one. This is it right here. So it shows like this one here. Here's a flow chart that says Christmas. Let me think. 1, 2, 3. So let me think. 1, 2, 3. So this is Mermaid, and this is it. There it is rendered. And so let me, if I go back to ChatGPT here and copy this into here, it should render that. But I actually wanted something a bit more than that. There we go. How about show all of Jacob's sons? Maybe that'll help. And Jacob's father and brother. How about that? Oh, not what I was expecting here. What I really want is that. Oops, I don't know why it says user there. Stop generating, edit. That's what I want. Abraham to Isaac, Isaac to Jacob, Jacob to these guys, Abraham. Was Lot Abraham's son? Let me just copy that. Assume it's correct. And here, this is kind of what I want to hear. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That is correct. All right. What else do we have here? Oh, actually, here's one. I was listening to a song a couple of months ago. I was in Los Angeles. The song was about Los Angeles. I don't know if there's Warren Zevon fans out there, but the song Desperados Under the Eaves mentions the Hollywood Hawaiian Hotel. And I wondered if that was a real place. We'll do that again. Save and submit. Message in conversation not found. What that means. Huh. All right, let's try. There was an error generating a response. Then do I? Oh, and now I don't have a. Oh, there's probably another connection issue because I don't. It's not letting me enter another prompt. I may be at my limit. Conversation not found. How about if I hit refresh? Let's try that. How about that? What's the word that describes someone using language or behavior to deliberately exclude others? If I'm having a mental block, can't remember, I know what I want to say, but I can't remember the word to say it, I can find, this is kind of a hard thing to look up. You can look up synonyms and definitions if you know the word, but if you don't know the word, you can just describe the word, then it becomes difficult. This is something that ChatGPT usually can help you with, but it looks like it's having issues today. Exclusionary is the word I was looking for. All right, so actually, this is interesting because I'm using the free version, and with the free version does not take priority over the paid version. There are people that are paying for it, and not only do they get version 4, which is built on a larger language model, and not only do they get more recent data, but they also get higher priority. So when ChatGPT starts to bog down because here it is, it's 7:30 in the evening and everybody's logging onto their computer, and then the servers are going to start to get bogged down. The people that are paying for it are going to get much higher priority. Let's look, and I think that's what's happening here. Suddenly the users, the user base started to go up, and they're just bumping me down the priority list. I'm getting fewer and fewer cycles here. So I think, let me just go one more here. I've got a long one here. Let's take this whole thing right here. And what I want to do here is I've created a presentation about Azure monitoring and application insights. I actually did this. And it covers these topics: the importance of monitoring concepts, strategy, etc. Please write an abstract for this presentation that I can submit to technical conferences. So I actually did create this presentation. I submitted it to the Code Match conference, which is in Sandusky, and one of the things I did was I went to ChatGPT. I said, "Hey, generate an abstract for me," and I didn't use it verbatim, but I used it as a starting point. And in fact, this is probably way too long for an abstract. So maybe I'd probably want to say reduce the abstract above to how about 7 sentences or fewer. Oops, that slash didn't belong there, but. And so that's probably more appropriate for something like Code Mesh. They don't want to have a huge amount here. But even then, I'd want to just tweak it. Although, as I acknowledged earlier, the abstract that I did for this user group talk, I just copied and pasted it verbatim when I sent it to Sam, and that's what you're seeing right there, something that ChatGPT came up with. All right, I've been talking for over an hour. So I'm curious. Well, first of all, before I go any further, I will say that I have if you want to just see these samples, you can go to my GitHub page right here, and I have this right here. So there's the PowerPoint slides. There's all the demos or this Word document, and some other things in here as well. And I'll actually paste this link into the Meetup page, which I might still have open. Meetup. Is it here? Oh, that's the go-to page. I'll paste it in the comments of the Meetup page so that you can grab it. Here we go. So if I come down to the comments, add a comment, slides and demos, right there. And I think this doesn't actually turn it into a hyperlink, which is kind of a shame, but you have to copy and paste that into here. And if I go back to my slide deck, I actually have a bunch of resources at the end.
You can also paste it in the chat window here and the go-to meeting as well.
Oh yeah, that's kind of ephemeral though. It's more people are more likely to go back to the meetup, I think. But I'll do that as also. So here's a bunch of things, just articles. You'll see that some of these demos I totally stole out of these articles here, and but really the only link you need is this one right here, because this is the link to this slide deck, and this slide deck has all these other links in it. And so what Sam is suggesting is that I go to the chat window here. Maybe it's not here. Maybe it's this here, and I paste it in there. There we go. Yeah, that works. And Sam thought that Andy was an accountant, but accountant wasn't one of the options. I kind of thought he was as well, because didn't he get in trouble because he started doing like tax returns or something for the guards, and he asked one of the guards, "Do you trust your wife?" And the guy held him out over the roof, thinking he was insulting him.
Well, I think I'm gonna have to rewatch.
That's a great
movie. Have to rewatch it tonight and maybe correct ChatGPT on it.
I think it's time we have to get busy living, get busy dying.
Well said.
Yeah. So that's the content if you've got, I'd love to hear anybody else has some ideas. I think the one about the job interviews was terrific. Before we hang up, go ahead and share with Chev. No, Jatin. I'm probably saying wrong.
I kept going with the idea and even like started asking it to like, hey, could you answer this question if you had this in an interview? And it came out with some like pretty good like answers. So it's a really good way to like ask it a crazy question and then like let it answer it kind of deal.
So if I say, what are some interview questions I can expect when interviewing for a software dev position, and then maybe follow up. Once it gives me these, I can say, what are some good answers to question number 3? Here we go. Number 5. This is always a hard one. Describe a project that you didn't go as planned. What did you learn from it? I got this all the time, and it's always good to have an example of this. What is a good answer to behavioral question 5. Hopefully it understands that context. It did. And so it starts, this is really good stuff. It's how to frame your response, the situation, the task, the action, and the results. And here's just some examples. And I would never advise anyone to lie, but it's better to have a good answer than an accurate answer in a job interview, especially on something like this. You know, you want to show some humility, but you also want to show problems. The question is really about problem-solving skills. Not everything goes right. Maybe it was my fault that it went wrong, but I was able to adjust and fix it. You know, same thing when they ask you about weaknesses. It's, saying, yeah, I have this weakness, but I recognize it, and here's what I'm doing to adjust it, to address it.
Yeah, I've also been writing a lot of like cover letters and stuff like that. So I think using this to like at least give me an idea of like what it should look like or an outline of it, that's like really useful. So I don't like get like what do you call a writer's block thinking about it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I use it for. I just want to get a start on something, and it's really rare. First of all, I don't trust ChatGPT. It might have something that's totally wrong in there, or it might have placeholders in there. But also, I don't want, you know, I'm worried also that somebody else might have exactly the same cover letter. You know, they use ChatGPT. ChatGPT doesn't have the same answer every single time, but
it's usually similar kind of deal.
It's similar, yeah. And then maybe if they start to see the same answer from multiple people, then that's probably going to be a mark against me, especially if I'm the second one they receive. But it's a great starting point. It's a great Kickstarter for ideas.
I like the idea with the interview questions, and then you could also piggyback on that and use it in the same fashion as flashcards for specific subject that you're studying for, or if you're doing maybe Azure certification or any other Microsoft certification for that matter. So it'd be a great study tool.
Good point.
Excellent. Anyone else have any questions or comments for David?
This was so much fun. This was a world premiere of this talk, the first time I've given it, and it's ChatGPT is just a fun thing just to play around with.
It is, and well done as always.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it, Dave. If you don't mind, I'm going to take back the screen.
Do it.
All right. So before we take off for the night, just have a couple of wrap-up announcements. Should only take a couple minutes. And let me go ahead and share my screen. So thanks again to David for the world premiere of ChatGPT Unleashed. Well done as always. Appreciate you taking the time. And I understand that this is the start of your vacation, and you started your vacation by
hanging out with you guys.
Yeah, great. I mean, how can you not love that?
I know. The only thing that would be better is if I was actually in Cleveland right now.
Well said. And the next time you are, I would love to take you out for a drink or two.
I am going to hold you to that.
Please do. All right. And in the chat window, I posted a few links that we'll go over in just a little bit. And with that, let's go over into the remaining slides that we have for the evening. So in the chat window, I posted the link to the YouTube channel where the video will be posted in just a couple of days after editing. And the link is posted there in the chat. If you would please subscribe to the channel to get upload notifications. In addition, tech events will be posted on my blog, and you can also subscribe to that to get updates. And last but not least is the feedback eval. There's a link posted for that in the chat. Please feel free to click on that, take a few minutes to fill that out. It's only about 8 questions or so, but we'd like to provide some constructive criticism back to David. Again, a special offer from Manning.com. You have a 35% off offer on a selection of books with the discount code MTPCLEC21. And the link for that, as you might have guessed, is also posted in chat as well. Some technical events. On October 2nd is the Memphis Technology User Group, and that group encompasses a variety of other tech groups But that evening will be a topic on Azure hosted by Chad Green from Kentucky. And then on October 11th will be the Azure Cleveland user group. And we're going to have Matt Elin presenting on that specific evening. On October 18th is the Akron Women in Tech. And yours truly will be presenting on AI and T-SQL at that upcoming meeting. And by the way, all these meetings are virtual and free of charge to attend. And so once I post these on my blog, you can click on the link and join the meetings there. And then last but not least, October 19th is the Great Lakes User Group for .NET, or also known as GlugNet. And they meet every third Thursday of the month. And then following the fourth Thursday is this group again, where we're going to be the Cleveland C# User Group meeting. And that will be on the fourth Thursday or October 26th.
Hey, Sam, I think, double check that link. I think that might be the Greater Lansing User Group.
Sure, I will. But
that's what they used
either
to
way,
do.
I
moved away from Michigan. I moved away from Michigan years ago, but that's what, because I used to run the Great Lakes Area.NET group, which was in Southfield, and that's been rebranded to something else.
Gotcha. We'll look into it. But thanks for pointing that out, Dave. As for conferences, November 7th through the 10th is Tech Bash. That's going to be happening in the Poconos in Pennsylvania. And then November 14th through the 16th, as this time of year, we always have the .NET Conf. So there's going to be a variety of topics related to .NET 8 as it's going to be released soon. And .NET Conf is a 3-day conference that encompasses a variety of topics related to .NET 8 and .NET in general. One of the things we always like to do is discuss job openings. So Tech Systems always has jobs available at techsystems.com/IT-jobs, but always like to ask who's hiring and who's looking for work. So if you would please make yourself known either in chat or verbally. And I believe Microsoft is hiring once again, right, David?
Microsoft is always hiring. If you
Always
are,
hiring.
yeah, here, I'll put the link in here.
Okay. Anyone else know of someplace that's hiring? All right. If not, you can always send me an email later, and my contact information, snasser@nistechnologies.com. You can also find me on Twitter @SamNasser. The link to my blog where the tech events will be posted. And lastly, if we're not connected on LinkedIn, I invite you to do so. And so with that, thank you all for attending the September meeting and look forward to seeing you in the October meeting. So thanks again to David, and thank you all for attending, and have a good night, everyone.